Welcome to Black Feathers, a true and honest conversation about disabilities for all. I am your host, Dr. Crystal Hernandez from the Cherokee Nation. Thank you for joining us for this episode's journey. Our cultural practices can be so rooting, healing, and uplifting all at once. It truly is what binds us together and keeps our people strong and thriving. It is the thread woven through generations near and far, empowering us to stand firm in our history and look at the horizon of future for generations that are yet to be. Our culture is our medicine, it is our wings, and it is our rock. Welcome to Black Feathers Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. We are very excited to have today Dawn and Stephanie. We cannot thank you enough for joining us to share your stories and the amazing work that you are doing with tribal citizens and tribal nations. I would like to take a moment to allow each of you to give us an introduction so that our listeners can understand who you are and why you're doing what you're doing in the disability community.
Yes, my name is Dawn Newrider. I'm Choctaw Creek, Comanche, and Potawatomi and Ponca. I work for Gatesway Foundation. I've been in the field of intellectual disabilities for a little over 28 years. I started with Gatesway in 2016 as a program coordinator, and now I'm currently the director of community residential services.
My name is Stephanie Ninke. I am Potawatomi tribal member, and I am the property manager for the Gatesway Foundation. I've been here a little over, almost 4 years, and I just kind of jumped into the field not really on purpose. I went to school at OSU and went for human development and family science, and decided case management wasn't really my thing, so I ended up with an admin assistant job here about 4 years ago, and I've just worked my way, and now I handle all maintenance, properties, leases, anything like that.
Thank you for your introductions. It sounds like both of you have been in this industry for quite a while. Dawn, especially you, 28 years. That's a long time to be serving. So thank you both for the work that you do. One people, one voice. We must send a strong message forward that all of us belong. All of us are unique and beautiful. And most importantly, we must continue to create space for unwavering inclusion. We need intertribal and intergenerational collaboration where we honor the wisdom of our elders and embrace the innovation of our youth. And so I know when I visited Gatesway Foundation and some of the services and spoke to some of the folks that work there, you were really focused on how transition happens from youth to adulthood and then serving adults in a variety of capacities. And so I'm so extremely excited to have both of you on to talk about some of the services that you do provide for our young adults and our adults, specifically related to, the services you offer, but also the things that you've seen in your long careers. So let's focus a little bit on that transition from youth to adulthood and serving our adults that are living with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So can you just tell us a little bit about what services your agency provides for that age bracket?
We serve both on the ICF side, which is on our campus, and we serve in the community where adults with a disability get to live in their own private home with caregivers around the clock. We also have a service called DRS, which is a job placement and vocational.
Can you describe that? You said ICF campus. Can you, when you're talking about this, can you give us a little, describe what that all is?
So ICF is intermediate care facility, so it's run off of nursing home standards, but it's not a nursing home. It's for anyone 18 and up. It's more high care, more, it's a different feel. That's what we're in the middle of a capital campaign. Actually, we just finished to build new 8-bed, 8-bath houses. So right now, half of our people here live in either a 16-bed or an 8-bed house. But we're really striving towards everyone having their own bedroom, everyone having their own bathroom, and getting better individualized care by breaking it down into smaller 8-bed houses. So it's not, I can't imagine personally living with 15 other people. I grew up with 2 other siblings, and that was plenty for me. So, it's getting the more individualized care, but it is probably higher care needs here. And it's also easier to get people that haven't ever had services into our ICF. And then if later they get approved for waivered services or community services, we can move them to Dawn's side, which is CRS, Community Residential Services.
That's great. I love the way that you describe the differences in level of service, and individuals have unique needs and different levels of needs. And so it sounds like you're serving where the person's needs are. So whether that's in the community with that wraparound model, or whether that's in a facility with that wraparound model. And so thank you for describing both of those. You also mentioned individualized care. And so that is incredibly humbling and hits my ears, because it is never a one size fits all. Individualized care is oftentimes forgotten. These are individuals who have unique needs, unique challenges, but also unique strengths. And so thank you for focusing on that individualized care. So while they're with you in either one of those program divisions, what additional services do you guys provide?
So once they're in residential, whether they are with residential services in our agency or another agency like ours, we can provide vocational services. So we have our own lawn crew that we employ, a couple of our friends, which we call everyone that we serve a friend. We employ a couple friends on that. We have a shredding company that we employ people on. And then we also have a DRS, Department of Rehabilitation Services department with us as well. So they can go through DRS to find vocation out in the community.
I love that you call them friends, because that is that companionship model of seeing individuals as people rather than widgets and numbers and those that need to be served. You're like, let's do this together. And so I do love that. I also really enjoy hearing that you focus on giving them opportunities to give back, whether that's through vocation, trainings, actual jobs, whatever that looks like, because we know that our intellectual and developmental disabilities populations are oftentimes underemployed and underutilized because the world doesn't understand that they can contribute, that they should get the opportunities. And so I do like that you build that fabric into your program. So that's wonderful. Any additional services that you didn't mention?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Okay. So if they are in your residential side of your program and they are living with you, clearly that's more of an intense wraparound, service structure versus in the community. When they're in the community, which one do you find is more accessible? I know you mentioned not having enough beds, but do you find that there's enough inclusive housing if they are in community placements?
No. It would be wonderful if there were, more funding for housing. We've tried to get a couple of grants to get housing, and we've actually received. No, we have not received anything yet, but we are in hopes of, trying to get some kind of grant or some kind of, housing funding to make our friends, live a much safer and inviting quality of life. Unfortunately, right now, we have to try to lease homes or, try to build something for them. And it's just really tough.
Absolutely. I hear that in a lot of different areas that stable, secure, safe housing is not really accessible generally. And then when you have a population that is a little bit more vulnerable sometimes, or that does have unique needs, that it's even harder to find those locations that are affordable, that are safe, that are, close proximity to services, things like that. And so I think we can all constantly say we need more housing that meets those needs, but we also need housing that's affordable, accessible, and equitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially affordable, because most of our friends are on a fixed income, and rent is so expensive now, even for, general population. It just really kind of limits what they can afford, with just looking for something that fits them and their needs.
Absolutely. Affordable housing is definitely an area that a lot of people focus on. And so I know that you mentioned that you have capital campaigns, you look for grants, you're looking at how you can really braid together your funding to meet the needs and the growing demand for services. So what additional ways do you think that the community can support these efforts?
I think always making sure, one, we did just finish the capital campaign, but Gatesway, Gatesway.org, there's always a donate button at the top. I would also encourage everyone to, for us specifically, follow us on Facebook. That is our most active. We always post if we're in need of things, just random household items, whether it's new washer and dryers, lightly used, well taken care of appliances, any donations like that. And then honestly, it's the nicest thing we've had to do, especially looking for houses in our community side, and finding such a struggle with finding good housing for affordable prices is if you see a house for rent, you see a house, anything like that. Gatesway's always been open to owning houses. We own all 6 of our group homes and then a DLS home right now. But we're open to purchasing if it's the right time for us and price and everything. But you see a Facebook Market ad or you see any type of for rent, send it over, reach out. If you have a house for rent, that would be good because it is hard. We have to get it qualified through any services they have. It has to be either wheelchair accessible if that's necessary or anything like that. So there are some requirements that make it extra hard for us to find quality housing.
Thank you. Can you go ahead and say your website one more time when you said follow us, and follow us?
www.gatesway.org.
Thank you. So I have personally witnessed and participated in movements towards inclusion and system overhaul in various tribal nations in Oklahoma, but also in other states. How do you think tribal nations could continue to support or build out systems of support for citizens living with intellectual and developmental disabilities? And I know that I met with some of your leadership at Gatesway Foundation because they are looking at ways to better collaborate and partner with tribal nations because you do serve a lot of tribal citizens, specifically in Oklahoma, where a large population of citizens in general do have tribal affiliation and citizenship. So what in your mind do you see as great opportunities for partnership and collaboration between the nations and you all?
I think that just bringing awareness to all the tribes, because I think that they just a lot of tribal members take care of their own people, and they've always been taught to do that. So I think just bringing the awareness out to all the different tribal communities and just let them know that, we give them support. We want to give them support, and just show them that there is other ways of, receiving different services and things like that. So I think that just bringing awareness to all the communities is a starting point.
Absolutely. A lot of the conversations that I've been involved with have all started with an awareness piece. You've had a lot of people who don't realize, number one, that they know individuals who are walking this journey. And then sometimes people don't understand that they themselves or a loved one are involved in this journey. But then there are those that haven't personally been impacted that don't realize that they should participate and they should move the dial, and that they should really focus on building systems or modifying systems to really be inclusive. And so I've had those same conversations of just that fundamental awareness, those critical initial conversations being so important. The other thing that I've also found is that when tribal nations and leadership start looking at their system collectively, and when they start taking it apart, they realize that there are opportunities for growth. There are opportunities to better serve individuals walking with various unique needs. And they are absolutely willing to do this. And that's an incredible thing to see. So after the awareness, what are some additional things that you guys would see as beneficial for the tribal citizens that you all serve?
I think the strongest thing we do for people, especially family members, is educate so they know what services are available, so they know how we can help them. We try, even if we can't necessarily serve a friend, to try and give them resources of somewhere that can help them, because like we said, not everyone has the same needs and we can't help everybody. That is one thing we've trying to work on a lot this year as a company as a whole, is not necessarily being like, oh, let's help absolutely everybody, because we could never possibly help everyone in the state of Oklahoma that has IDD. So there are other agencies like ours that we are partnering with, that we work closely with, to see if we can't help someone, to make sure they get help somewhere else. But I think everyone working together and just educating truly what services are out there is the best thing we can do for anyone.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a lot of organizations really do have that same spirit of collaboration for the best interest of those that need help and service. And then you have those that don't share that same spirit. And it's wonderful to see when organizations really do come together and say, we can't possibly serve everything that all people need at all times, but we can build a system with our partners, with our partnerships, with MOUs, with agreements, with just collaboration among providers and systems to really say, this is how you build that continuum so that people stop falling through the gaps in the service, that people aren't going in circles trying to figure out what it is they need or how to access what they need, but rather, if we can't serve you, here's 10 partners that can, and this is how we're going to link you together. And that's a great philosophy and a great approach, because we always have systems that, number one, react, systems that fail to see the person as an individual, and systems that keep somebody in chaos so long that they give up on trying to access the service. And it sounds like you take a completely different approach where you say, these individuals that come to us are friends. We're going to serve them in a comprehensive way. We're going to look at the foundation fundamentals of what the things are that we do well, and the things that we can't do or don't do, we're going to get partners on board that can do those things and do warm handoffs. So that's fantastic to hear, especially for our young adults and our adults that are really trying to navigate the system, or that have caretakers that are, aging and trying to navigate a system for the individual to have a thriving future. What additional things do you think?
I think just advocating for, different resources, advocating with our legislative, system, just trying to get more services involved.
Yeah, I think it's important to, it kind of goes into the awareness, but I think it's important to get the community involved that's not necessarily affected by any of these issues and doesn't have a loved one with IDD or doesn't have any type of experience in the field. I think before I came to Gatesway, I was completely oblivious to any of these issues, and now they obviously mean a lot to me, but I think there's a lot of people that have no idea what services are needed, especially with the legislative system and everything like that. You really, really have to advocate and talk to all your representatives and talk to, which we have done a lot of in the last couple of years, to get the services and to get reimbursement rates increased for daily rates and hourly rates, anything like that. It's a very low paying field because of the reimbursement rates that we get. But I think there's a lot of parts of this, or most of this. I think a lot of people, if they're not affected by this, they have no clue it's even happening.
So absolutely. You hit on a few points that I just want to make sure we talk about a little bit further. So getting involved in your legislative sessions, figuring out who your legislators are. And that should also extend to tribal nations. Tribal nations are sovereign in most instances, have their own forms of government, and those government officials are elected and or appointed depending on the nation. And it really is an opportunity for citizens to go to them as well, so that you have two sides that you should approach to really say, these are the needs that we have as a family, as individuals, as a community. Here's where the funding gaps are. Here's the opportunities to fix, statutes or bills or protections or services. Here's how we need our services to look. And so that's a great thing to talk about. Get familiar with who your people are that can really advocate for the things that will help have a more comprehensive system, have a better quality of life, longevity in life, and those types of things. The other thing that you talked about is that awareness, that general awareness, and making sure that you are part of that awareness movement. And so visibility is essential. And so if we can help promote visibility of individuals with all ability types being included in, marketing, media, events, and all of these things are really, really critically important. And it kind of ties into the next item that I really want to focus on. So recently, I had the absolute pleasure of attending a pivotal event in November of this year, which was a disability-focused powwow. So one, thank you for the invitation and putting this together. I witnessed families and individuals with all abilities come together in celebration and ceremony. I just have to say, this moved me. I was very emotional by participating and watching this as a mother of a child with unique needs. I always want him to be embraced exactly as he is, for exactly who he is. And this was a wonderful event. I saw so many people smiling and clapping and dancing, laughing, singing, and just embracing their heritage, their tradition, and one another. And so kudos to your team for putting this together, for getting the community rallied around, and really, making something magical happen. So I would love to discuss, number one, how that event came to fruition, but then why it's so critically important that things like that happen and continue. Like, why is it important and how did it happen? If you guys can share a little bit about that, that'd be great.
So we just really wanted to try to do something to bring all communities together, tribal and non-tribal, and just to, bring the awareness to communities. And also we wanted to try to build different partnerships within the tribal community. And what's a better way to do that than to, come together in celebration and awareness and bring awareness for this population. So we decided we were going to do a powwow and, just kind of to honor our population, bring awareness and celebrate.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw, I went with a friend and we saw a lot of great things happening. I do want to mention a few things because I serve on a couple national meeting committees and we talk about inclusive ceremony, and powwow does come up and sweats and all sorts of additional things. And I do love that you gave a lot of thought to, the ground and accessibility and, pullouts and aids and sensory areas and how you really structured all of that and that thought that went into it. Do you guys see this continuing to happen annually? Are you looking at additional types of events where, ceremony, like I said in the beginning, this is so incredibly important to the strength of our people and the continuity of our people. And so are there additional events that you all have planned that really focus on our Indigenous culture?
Well, we're planning. We're going to plan the next one. I think we're going to have it around the same time as we had it this year. We were hoping to kind of maybe have it outside, but it was such a great turnout because everybody in November is kind of looking for a powwow to go to. There's not really that many around, especially in Oklahoma. So we may have it a little bit warmer in the fall, but it's probably going to stay around November. But we are hoping to have it maybe the whole weekend. I've thought about having like stickball tournaments and a little bit more culture. Maybe some different activities, but we're still in the very early stages of all of that planning.
Thank you for mentioning a few of the other activities and ideas that are in concept phase right now, because it really is a big deal. And I heard a lot of people I know that even didn't get to make it out, but saw, postings and saw information about it being shared. And the collective message was, it's about time that we do something like this. And so, thinking about that moving forward is all of the nations can come together and support and sponsor this type of event, because it is so important to do that, to show, how we stand in unity, how we stand together. And, I was on the autism task force at my own nation, Cherokee Nation, and just being able to see our leadership stand with us in not only voice, but in resource. And that sends a big message to your citizens that you see them, you hear them, and this is the journey that we walk together. And so for the listeners out there, if you are in positions where you can go either back to your tribal council or to your chiefs or to your governor, or you yourself in occupy any of those decision-making roles, or even those that don't, your voice matters. We can get people to the table and we can bring resources to have accessible activities and events so that people of all ability types are able to partake, are able to stay connected to their culture, and can thrive and build those resources in those communities that are incredibly important for a well life. So looking at the totality of the service structures that you provide, and you mentioned a lot of partnerships. What type of partnership, and you don't have to give them specific names of the partners, but what types of partnerships do you typically reach out for? And I'll just give you an example. Do you reach out for mental health services? Do you reach out for, food pantry or, furniture, or maybe it's something along the lines of victim services, whatever it is? What types of things do you find that these individuals that you serve, your friends that you serve, that they need the most outside of housing that we mentioned?
I think there are a lot of different community partners that we try to our best partner with that do different things than us. So it's kind of a helpful thing to both of us. We have gotten, City Serve Tulsa has been really good to us getting furniture for new move-ins that didn't have any. We do have a contract with the Food Bank of Eastern Oklahoma that we get donations from Target and Walmart that are right around the corner from our campus. So we get a ton of food, which lowers our food costs, which is always helpful. We can just go back and spend that money on friends or needs or whatever need there is at that moment. But we get a lot of food from the food bank, which is wonderful. We have a lot of partners. We have a partner with Folds of Honor. We are friends. We have a team of friends that do the pins for them every now and then. So then we pay our friends. It's a creation of job for our friends. that, Warren Cover Parking, we have a contract with them that we have a crew that goes out and cleans their parking garages for them. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that we really do our best to kind of diversify who we partner with, so it's not just in this field. So again, you have that visibility with people out in the community. That way that even the people of those companies know who Gatesway Foundation is and what we do. It's just more people to know what we do and hear our story.
Those are some wonderful partnerships in the community, and I love how they are focused on the collaboration, basically, but also how you can bridge opportunities for your friends that you serve. Employability is huge, connection is huge, being seen and heard is huge, and for the community also, it's that reciprocal piece of awareness, spreading the message, folding them into the community so that they can see how wonderful the community is, but also the role that they should also play in the community, quality of life and opportunity and safety. That's amazing. So great job looking at that. So if you had to send a message out to listeners about opportunities, what are some gap areas? Are there different areas in different communities that could benefit from that kind of relationship and partnership? Or are there certain service industries that you would love to see come to the table?
I think vocation is the biggest one. Like I said, our DRS department places people out in the community, and I will say research has been a great partner. Anything like that, I think companies, especially larger companies like research that step up and employ our people and anything like that gives them a true sense of being in the community is the best way to go about it. Even our contracts with Folds of Honor and Warren Cover, we appreciate them and have had them for quite a while. But the goal is really fully being, community integrated. So any company like that, I think is a great asset to us.
Yeah. And as far as partnerships that we may possibly be looking for, I would say any volunteers. We try to have, different events. So we always welcome different, if somebody wants to go and help remodel the group home or even just spend time with our friends, maybe do a puzzle, maybe, go and cook for them or anything like that. They're always looking to meet new people. So, volunteering is always, a great way to bring awareness and new partnerships as well.
Wonderful. So I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to ask each of you, I know you've come to this journey different times in different ways, but would you guys be willing to share what you've gotten out of the work that you're doing?
Sure. So I was 18 years old whenever I first started in this field. I started as a regular caretaker, working overnights, and it was in the beginning just a good way for me to make income and having 2 little kids. But quickly, I kind of found that it was a passion, just being able to help our friends and advocate for them and see different changes in their lives. I had one friend that we served. He came to us and he he had a lot of anxiety around people, and he changed, right before our eyes, and it's those kind of things that really make the job, in the tough days worthwhile.
I would say for me, like I said, I went to OSU and I started here just honestly, I was looking for a job for almost 4 months. The job market wasn't fun. I really just did happen upon Gatesway in general. I was the administrative assistant for our director of administration at the time. And I kind of grew into what I was or what I am currently. I've had a few different positions that I've enjoyed all of them. Gatesway's given me the opportunity to grow a lot. But this field, I always said, because because like I said, my degree was in human development and family science. I took a developmental disability class, and I remember thinking this was not for me. I had to do an internship in the field at a place in Stillwater, and I was just like, this is not for me. The unknown is scary, and it's never been my niche. I was always working with kids. So, but when this job came to me and I ended up loving it, I think these friends have absolutely changed my life. I joined this field. I'm only 25, and I don't really see myself leaving it. No matter where I am, what position I am, I think this field is kind of where I belong at this point. But I think there's a lot to say, like when you see our friends and you meet our friends and they've gone through so much. Some of them, if they didn't have Gatesway, they'd be homeless. Some of them have been in horrible family circumstances and end up coming to us after. There's just a lot of stories here, and yet you see them and 95% of the time they have a smile on their face. It just kind of puts everything you have in perspective and brings this joy that you may not have walked in the door with. It's been, I've had the time of my life in the last 4 years, getting to know all the friends, working with some of the most amazing people, the people that work in this field, because like most nonprofit work or like most human services fields, most of the time you're not going to be in it for the money. You're here for the mission and the purpose. Yeah, the purpose that it brings you. And so you meet some of the most amazing people, even just the employees. It's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you both for sharing. Like you said, most of us come into this work not because of the money, right? We come in it for the mission or because it's personal or both. And so each of you had unique ways that you entered into this service structure. And I just heard loud and clear that this has changed your life, that this has humbled you, made you look back and reflect on your own life and those around you, but that you don't see yourself doing anything but this thing. And I can't thank you enough. Again, as a mother of an individual with unique needs, you always hope that people serving your child or helping your child or even interacting with your child will see them for who they are and treat them with dignity and respect. And I heard that loud and clear in both of your stories as of why you're doing this and how you're doing this. So thank you very, very much for having that spirit and that approach to how you're serving individuals. Is there anything that I didn't ask you all that you would like to talk about?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I think the main thing of all of this was really getting that awareness to the tribes to what services we provide. I think there's a big gap, not only with tribal members and tribes in general, but with the general population of generations aging, and we're coming into a lot more people that are needing services. And that older generation have been taking care of their kids for 40, 50 years, and they're aging, can't take care of their loved one anymore, their niece, their nephew, their son, their daughter, and they don't really know where to go. And I think just bringing awareness to that everywhere of the services that are here, and then the generations that are just now having kids and their kids are turning 18 and coming up in all these services. I think if you have a child with a disability, getting them on any type of services you can from the time they're born, and then when they turn 18, services and providers like ours. There's a transition, I think, of not keeping them in the house and letting the parents take care, but letting them go out on their own and really become independent. And I think that's important. And I think there's just this wave of people that are needing these services right now, young and older. So I think just awareness is the absolute biggest thing.
So both of you mentioned that you are tribal citizens yourselves, and that you do this work and you do serve tribal citizens in that capacity. Knowing all the things that you know and doing all the things that you do, and then your own citizenship in your tribal nations, what has that, how have you taken that back to your own tribes?
For me, with Creek Nation, they only serve children. And so I really would love to partner with them and just bridge that gap between, whenever their population comes of age at 18, then we could just, be right there to help them and assist them in any way possible with whether it's information or serving them or just any possible way we could. That would be, wonderful in my eyes. And as well as the children, I would love for us to even help, with that also.
Yeah, I think I did reach out to the Potawatomi tribe, and I don't know that they have any services. I didn't find any for people with IDD, and I think we're pretty open to any tribe. We have probably 40 staff that are tribal members and about 25-ish friends that are tribal members, and we're all from different tribes. But I think it's important as all of them just to even get the information out there to see what services each tribe already has and then what we could help provide. I know it is hard, and I think the struggle has been location. If we're not, obviously we can't be in every single any space where Maine is Tulsa Metro, so it's just hard to get services everywhere and make sure our services are available anywhere in Oklahoma, which can be possible. It's just the expanding there and then making sure that we can help the tribes. But I think the main thing is just extending to see what they already have and to see if we can help, even if it's just information. I don't think we have to necessarily have our hand in absolutely every service that the tribe has, but the fact that we have the people that have the expertise in this field and the education in this field, I think even just to get the education to see what they need to do to help their own population, we would be more than happy to do.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for joining me on this episode. It was a delight to hear both of your stories, to hear about the services that Gatesway Foundation is providing in the Tulsa metro area, but also the opportunities that still exist out there to expand on. I do hear you loud and clear. We are serving tribal citizens because Oklahoma is a tribal citizen heavy state, right? We know that. And the two of you, I think you mentioned 40 staff members that work at Gatesway that are tribal citizens from various tribes. And the friends that you have that you are already serving there are affiliated with and or citizens of tribes throughout Oklahoma. And so it'd be wonderful if we can see the relationship between tribal nations formulate and strengthen, because it's going to take every single one of us together to really evolve a system that enhances the care and quality of life for all citizens. I want to thank Lucas Frazier and the boys for the use of their drumming music, and I want to thank Cherokee National Treasure Tommy Wildcat of the Cherokee Nation for the use of his flute music. Join us next time for an episode of Black Feathers podcast focused on pediatric diagnosis and screening in young childhood. Season 2 of Black Feathers podcast is focused on Oklahoma, spearheaded by the State of the States in Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities and funded by the Developmental Disability Council of Oklahoma. We would love to hear from you. Tell us about your journey with disability and guide us on our future episodes of Black Feathers by visiting blackfeathers.org and answering a short survey. We hope that you will listen, subscribe, and provide rating and reviews. We want to thank our listeners. Please follow us on X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can get resources and information about this podcast at blackfeathers.org. Remember, none of us walk alone. Together we are stronger, and it is the roots that bind us.